Hello crafty friends! Today I am going to be showing you how to create this adorable box that could be used as a trinket box or a gift box, and it is super simple and easy to make, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to make this box you are going to need a 12 by 12 pattern paper, and you could actually make it smaller if you wanted to. I did try making a 6 by 6 and it came out super cute, but today I am going to be doing a 12 by 12. Now I don't have 12 by 12 double-sided paper, so I am going to be using just this one, but I think it'll still be very pretty. The first thing you want to do is you want to score your paper on half. So you want to score it 6 inches, and you're going to turn it over and score at 6 inches again. Okay, so now what you are going to want to do is fold on those scores. And sometimes I like to use my board to kind of hold them there together, but I'm just going to score on both of them. And then open it up and score it the other direction. So now again, remember, this is going to be an origami box, so you're not going to be doing any cutting until when you make the lid, obviously. Okay, so from there you have that, and then you are going to want to fold onto one side. So now this one, if you try to score it, is going to be a little bit harder. So I just like to line it up, and then I'm going to get rid of my board here. Make sure that you keep that lined up. It's not wanting to cooperate with me. Keep it lined up on each corner, and then what I like to do is press down in the middle, and then from there press out. I do like to press gently so I can make sure that all the corners are going to be pressed down, and then they're going to be as even as possible. Obviously, yes, you are doing a folding, and then this is a this paper is, I think it's about an 80-pound weight, so it is a little bit thicker than like a regular sheet of paper, but you do want it to be a little bit sturdy because it's going to be a box for little treats. So now let's fold up this other corner, and I hope I'm in frame there. So there we have it. So we just make a triangle, and we're going to open it up and do the same thing on the opposite direction. So it's a lot of mirroring of the folds that you do. And there you go. Fold it down and press. Like, see there, I was just a tiny bit off. You want to be as close as possible to that score line. Now you do want to decide which side you want to be your outside and which should be your inside. So in this case, I want this to be my outside, so that's why I'm folding on this way. If you do happen to have a pattern paper, you have to choose which one you're using, but in my case, I am using the outside. So what you want to do next is you want to bring these two in together, and you want to fold in as such, like this, and push this in together and fold it in. So if you see, you're basically turning this back into a 6 by 6 square. So let me do that again for you. Grab these two corners, pinch them together, and you're gonna push. Normally we had it like this. You're gonna push it in and hold these two together, so you have this shape. Turn it into a square. Okay, so once you have this shape that you've put them in, you are going to fold this in, and you want to fold this on this one. You want to be very careful when you are folding it. So it's basically folding this back into the crease that you have here, but because you do have the two papers, you want to make it as easy as possible. I'm just trying to make it work. So you want to fold at that crease and bring it down here. Now my paper looks like it's not cooperating. It is going to be open a little bit, but you want to put it as close as you can together. I'll probably have to trim that. but you want to do that on all the sides. So we're just going to be folding, trying to crease it a little bit so it's easier for me to fold, but there you are. Fold it together as much as you can, and then use your bond folder to varnish it in there. And again, see, it's wanting to move here, but you want to keep it as close together because that is what's going to be put in your box, or that's going to be showing on your box. So you want to do that. So you basically end up with this little shape of a kite, let's say. Okay, so you want to do the same on the other side. And we are going to fold it backwards. And I'm sorry, this way. I almost messed it up. Okay, and we'll do right there. Just about. Hold it right there so it doesn't move from, try to even it out as much as you can onto that crease, because that's going to be your guide right there. And as you varnish it over here at the top, just kind of, push it in and hold it. It's a little bit tricky there, but there. I just want my corners to look as seamless as possible. And again, you do the same thing. Now, on this one, you could probably try to do use your scoreboard, but looking at the angles and stuff, it's probably going to be a little bit tricky. So I'm just going to, do this the old way and use my paper as a guide. I don't usually do origami, stuff, so this is pretty new to me. I remember a long time ago, my nephew used to be obsessed with origami stuff. Every time that they would go to the library at school, he will pick up origami books because he was so into it. I never got into that, but anyway, so there we have it. So now it looks like a kite. Okay, and what you are going to do, we're going to keep it this way because that's how we're going to be doing our folds. You're going to open each one of the flaps. So basically open it like this, and we're going to fold it out. So again, remember, you're going to try to use this fold line as your guide to line up this crease. And you're going to do the same thing to all four sides again. So just doing mirror everything you do on one side, you do it to the other one. So there we are. So now our kite is going to start to look like a diamond, a weird shaped diamond, but let's describe it as a diamond. So here you are, folding that. And notice I'm not using my bone folder anymore because these are not as big creases that I'm making. So and press down the corner and then press up. So you end up with this shape, but you want to fold them in and then make sure that you folded every single one of them. So now we're going to go back and do the same thing onto this side. Okay, so there we have it. Yes. Okay. And kind of fold them back so that way you can make sure that everything's going to be the same on all directions. And that's pretty much it. That's what our box is going to be looking like. So we're going to fold this back inside like that. To kind of have those corners. So we're going to leave our paper, we want it to look back like a kite. I almost folded those two together. So there. So our final shape, you kind of go around and make sure that you have kind of like a star or corner star, I guess. But, if you were to fold it flat, it would be that kite shape. And you would have that kite shape on every corner, like every area that you open it. So every area when you open it, you would have the, the white in this case and then this. So now we're going to be ready to make our box. And for this one, what you want to do is just want to put your hand in here and gently you are going to push out. See, this kind of opens, but you know, it's okay because you can kind of fold it back, but you're going to gently push each one of these corners out. And if this, you know, wants to unfold, you just kind of fold it back. But once you have it pushed out, it's going to be easier for you to finish up your box. So here. And once you push all of those corners out, sorry, there, that was the last one. Come on, paper. Try to keep, you know, holding them. Pinch them all together on one side and then kind of unfold that. And then you can set it down or gently push this corner up. But if you see, this is what our box is going to be looking like. And now we just want to fold back. So we're going to fold each one of these triangles corners backwards. And my paper kind of ripped here a little bit, so I'm going to have to fix that. But there you have it. You kind of want to go and do that the same on the other ones. And it'll probably help if you do it on opposite sides. So you want to fold up to where the paper, right here where the papers meet. So just kind of fold right there. And when I was making my other one, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't being as difficult with me because the paper, like I mentioned, was smaller weight. So it was a lot easier to maneuver it or, you know, work with it. But this is just fine. Here we are. And then you just kind of have to go back and fold out those pieces. And then again, like I said, just kind of fold it into as far as where these, you know, papers meet. That's where you want to fold it and crease it. And just press down. So that pretty much folds, makes up your box. Now we are just going to grab some hot glue to glue it all together. Now on the tutorial that I saw, you know, the lady that was making it, she was, you know, just glued all of these back into here. And you could do that if you want to, which I think I may do it for this time around. So you can give it a little bit of that extra, you know, white, pop of white. Okay, so while we're waiting for my hot glue gun to warm up, we are going to measure or get measurements for the lid. Now, you don't have like a standard measurements because, you know, they may vary a little bit depending on the paper that you use and, you know, how close your folds were. So we're just going to measure it, no problem. So we're going to measure the opening, which is, you know, from each one of the sides, and then just make sure that they're all about the same. So this looks like I have about a 3-inch opening all around. So I am going to be cutting a 3 by 3 inch of 3 by 3 paper to create our box, our lid. And let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to be using this pattern paper right here. Let me move that out of the way. And again, we're going to cut a 3 by 3. So now you are actually going to be lining it. So you could use your pattern paper if you want, or you could use regular white paper, because for your 3 by 3, you are going to line it up. And I, you know, it'll make sense in a minute. Sorry if it's not. But here we are, 3 by 3. And then this is just so we can line it. So now, because it is a 3 by 3, we want to give a little bit of a gusset or area so that way your box lid can go in. So we're going to do about 1/2 inch all around. So then you're going to need a 3.5 by 3.5 inch square as well. So let's cut that one. And we're actually going to cut 2 of those, and I'll show you why in a minute. we have 2 3.5 by 3.5 and 1 3 by 3. Okay, now another thing that you could do is if you want to line up the inside of your box, you can. And for that, you will just have to measure out here. And obviously, you're going to be, off a little bit maybe, but just kind of measure. I'm sorry, I'm using the wrong side. Measure from where the edge is. So this looks like we have about 4 3/4 inches all around. So we can cut a square that is 4 3/4 all around to put it inside. And I do like to do that because it just gives it a little bit more finished look. So we're going to do that. 4 3/4. So basically you can make this cute little box using just 2 sheets of paper. And it's pretty easy and quick to do. So this is the one that we need. And let me see if it'll fit. You'll just have to fiddle with it just a bit to put it inside, and then you can glue it, but I'm just going to test it first to make sure it'll fit. And that would just give it a little bit of support to the base of your box. So if you see, there it is. It fits perfect. So I'll just have to wait a minute and glue it. Now I'm debating if I should do this at the bottom or not. On my last box, what I did, I actually folded on my itty bitty one, folded this, and I folded them up to this area to just kind of give it a little bit of section. So actually, I think I'm going to be doing the same on this one. Actually, let's do it like how the tutorial was. I'm sorry, I just keep, changing my mind. But anyway, let's get back to making the lid real quick while my glue gun gets a little warmed up. So okay, so with your 4x4 piece, what you're going to do, you're going to score at 1/2 inch and then at 3.5. So that's what's going to give you your 3x3 inch square. So again, at 3.5 and at 1/2 inch. So once you have that scored, you would want to, you can see there the little box that you create, you are going to want to fold in. Fold into each one of the score marks. And let me just mark this one just a little bit more so it's easier for me to see it when I'm folding. Okay. Same thing on all 4 sides. And there you have it. Okay. So I am just going to grab my scissors here and then trim these a little bit so I can turn them into a box. So just cut just 2 sides right here, and then you're just gonna cut up to that score line and then flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. Now for this one, you could use tape, you could use glue, you could use whatever you want to adhere it together. And in my case, I think I'm going to be using my tape runner, but let me grab that real quick. Where did I put it? Okay, so for this, I am going to be using my tape to tape it together. And I'm just going to be putting a couple pieces here on each one, on each side, to do this. So I know it seems like it's a lot of work, but I promise you it's very easy, especially once you've already, if you've done it before, it gets a little bit easier. And then obviously just, when you're trying to explain it, you have to slow down just a bit so that way you can see what I'm doing. But It is very, very easy. So I am just going to do this. Varnish it in there so that way I can make sure this tape is gonna stay. And then we're gonna peel it off. And I'll just peel it off on all sides so that way we can get to gluing everything once we are done. Here we are. So let's bring it in, fold it in like that, and just line it up as close as you can. Same thing with this other one. And then like that. So just basically go all the way around and fold it all together. And now you have this cute little box that's going to be your lid. Let me see if it's in there perfectly. Okay. So now you can layer this one, or to decorate it you can. I am going to be using a little bit of ribbon here to create a little bit of like a little latch to hold, if you will. So I'm just gonna cut this little piece of ribbon. And you can use whatever, but I'm using this one because it kind of matches my paper, so I'm going to be using that. And so I am going to grab my X-Acto knife, and I'm going to try to eyeball half of that. Let's see. So it'll be about right there, I think. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. So you will want to put your ribbon through there, and then just, make that little cut. You will see the cut a little bit, but it doesn't really matter, because then when you decorate your lid, you won't be able to see it anyway. So unless you're not going to be decorating it, then you want to make sure that you kind of cover it, if you will. Okay. And then, so on our bigger paper that we did 3.5, my 3.5 is what we're going to be using for the top, and that's the reason why we chose, or we needed 2, is because we're going to layer them, so that way the box, you can see it on the inside too. So let's glue those together. And for that, let's go ahead and use my wet glue. Just so that way it can add it adds an extra layer, extra support for your box, for your lid, I'm sorry. And then also it looks more finished because it has the pattern paper on both sides. So we'll do that. Just be careful with my X-Acto knife. I don't want to cut myself. So there it is. So I guess when I measured, I was off just a tiny bit on this one, but it's okay. I'll just trim it, and we'll do the same thing. Just kind of try to eyeball where half of it is, so you can measure it, since right now we do have the paper. And you know what, before putting my ribbon, let's do that. We're gonna match it up, and we're going to glue it and center it onto your paper. So let's do that while we're at it. So just add tons of glue. And you do want to add a little bit extra right here. That's what you're going to be pulling on the. So then just going to try to decide which one I like better. And it looks like it's pretty much the same thing. So we're just going to keep that. And then just kind of center it. Yep, that looks pretty close. You can measure if you want, but sometimes I figure that it's easier if you just eyeball it. But there we go. And then this is the one that I am going to be using to line everything in. So I want to make sure that I use that one in there too, so that way I can pierce it at the same direction that you pierce this one. So I don't have my cutting mat here with me, so I'm just going to have to do this carefully. I'm going to try to line it up with the scoring area. There. So that way it's easier to do. But there you go. That's your cut. And then you want to make a little cut that's going to be the same. So let's do this one backwards. There it is. Just add a little more just in case. But let's grab a ribbon back and then put fit it through that little hole. Just gonna use my X-Acto knife to kind of push it in there. And there we are. So now with this one, you know, you can decide how big you want it to be. So I think that's a good distance. And I'm going to be using both glue and tape to glue this here, so that way I can make sure that it stays there and it doesn't go anywhere, because you do want to put, you know, make sure that it has a strong hold so you can pull the lid. Yes, of course, it's not a super heavy lid, you know, but if the recipient decides to use it for like little goodies or treats or whatnot, they may be opening and closing it a lot. So I'm going to use that and that. Okay, and we just glue it onto each side, and there you have it. So now what I'm gonna do here, I am going to also put another couple pieces of tape, just, you know, randomly, to make sure that all of these stays together. It helps if I peel those so I can overlap them. Sorry about that, my doggy just likes to come in here and hang out, making a lot of noise with her collar. But here you go. So once we have all of those tapes, I am just going to be lining all the outside with my wet glue. You know, just put in a little bit so that way you have extra adhesive, extra things that will glue. Put some in the ribbon too. You know, can never be too sure. So then you're going to grab your piece. Oh, and actually I didn't need to cut this. Why did I cut it? I don't know. It doesn't matter. So we're just going to put it in there to line it. And shove it in there. And there we have our little lid. Now you could have double-sided this one if you want. So actually, I think I might. So we're gonna cut this paper to be 3 inches first, and this is what we're gonna do, just to kind of give it a little bit more of a finished look. I don't know, sometimes I don't think these things through before, you know, going to town. But we'll do this. So we cut ½ inch, and that should be our 4 pieces to go all around. It'll give it a little bit of extra support and a more finished look, like I said. But let's also trim right here. So if you see on this area, I must have been off just by a smidget when trimming it. But if you just trim it off, you know, nobody will ever know. So we'll trim this right here. And there we have it. So let's just use some of our wet glue. To put all around the inside of the lid. So now you're not going to be able to see that white. All right. So let's go inside. Okay, so once we do that and I'm done trimming it, that completes our little lid. So you can see it's looking very cute. And now we are going to finish up on here. So I am going to add a little bit of the wet glue, you know, just randomly on the corners. So that way it can hold on to the inside of the box. And as I am doing that, I'm going to be switching corners before I press it all down. So just kind of going around, and then we'll come in and press it down and we'll be done. Complete our box almost, so now let's just go ahead and hot glue it here. Okay, so once I am done adding glue on each one of the corners, I am going to be pressing it down, you know, so I can make sure that everything's going to lay flat and glue it all together. And this is going to Okay, so you are going to be adding the hot glue onto each one of these little flaps to glue it onto the base of the box. And I am putting a generous amount just kind of all over the place to make sure that everything is going to be here. At the same time that I am pressing down, I am pushing with my finger on the inside to kind of keep that curved shape onto the bottom flap. And you kind of want to do that to just kind of keep the form of the box and not to, you know, so it doesn't look odd. I do apologize that this video is turning to be a little bit long, but I promise you it's not that hard to make this box. Once you are into the making the box, and if you're not kind of trying to explain what you're doing, I think the time does go a little bit faster, but I hope that I am going you know, slow enough that you are understanding what is going on and what I am doing. You know, basically on this one is just gluing everything down to make sure that you know, your box is going to be formed and sturdy. But other than that, you know, it was a pretty cool and easy project to do. So I'm just going to keep on adding this glue onto each one of the flaps. You can leave this box like this if you want to, you know, but I think I want to, I don't know if I should, but I think I want to put something down here to kind of give it a more finished look, because I don't really like, you know, how these just look there because it doesn't meet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these pieces of paper that I had, and I'm just going to line it kind of like a square still, so you could still see a little bit of it, but I'm going to grab the bigger one. So I don't have that much left over, but we'll do this one. So we'll just measure that to about, what's the measurement of these? So this is about 3 3/8. So we're gonna make a even square, just to give it a little bit of a more finished look, more put together, I guess. And then as you can see, these are a little bit two different pattern papers, so I'm going to use my hot glue since I have that here ready to be a trooper, and just put it all around. And down we go. Center it. Push it down and press. And there we have it. Doesn't it look so cute? So here is your lid. And as you can see, it fits in perfectly to come out. And that's your box. Now it is ready for you to embellish it and, you know, make it look however, you know, you want to make it look. And decorate it, leave it as it is. I think I may want to do something with this, white, because it is very like in your face white. So I may just like try to paint it, or maybe I don't know if I have enough paper of this one to cover it, but you know, I may do something else with it. Also, maybe when you're decorating it, you could do it. But this is our little box that we made, and you could use it to put like little trinkets in there. You know, if you don't use the lid, you can just keep it like that, or, you know, put little things in here. Like I have like little tape runner, an eraser, your ribbon, you know, little things in there. So it's a pretty good size that will hold a few things in there for you to, you know, gift. And it is very, very cute. So here it is. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and you give it a try. Okay, so I did decide to decorate this box and show you what how I decorated it. I basically just added some tulle here at the bottom, all around, and I added some pink on each one of the corners. And I used some of my flowers that I had in my stash. Is one of those Prima flowers, and then the other ones are foam, and one of those was an acrylic. But I just put some ribbon around it, and you know, my little box is there, and it just looks very, very cute. But like I said, you can decorate it however you like. I also wanted to show you the little box I was mentioning. So this other one, I made it with the 6x6 paper. Did the same thing, just decorated with, you know, some of the little bows and things.